So I've had the chance to work with some really great investors, and that's from novice to really experienced. And I wanted to start bringing you some insights and stories from some of the investors who had really neat things to say, interesting stories. And the first one's going to be Dillon Seal from A Cut Above Landscaping. Great guy, good business owner, and first-time real estate investor. In fact, it's the first home he ever bought. Dillon's going to tell us about how he used a hard money loan and several other pretty high-level tactics to do his first real estate deal and really get what looks like it's going to be a home run. So thanks for joining us as Dillon tells us a little bit about his first real estate investment. All right, I'm here with Dillon Seal, A Cut Above Landscaping, first-time home buyer, first-time investor. Took on just a really crazy first-time project. He's about 80% through at this point, and he's going to tell us a little bit about it. Dillon, thanks for hanging out with me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So, where are we sitting? You want to tell people kind of where we actually are?
Sure. Yeah, this is our view off of our back porch and from the kitchen sink. It's not bad.
Not bad?
We are in Pace in Florida town. We ended up buying this property. It sits on about 3 acres, and it was quite a buying experience and quite a renovation experience. So
we connected, I think one morning, probably before 6 o'clock on Facebook. You reached out over a duplex or something I had for sale, and I'm an early bird too in the landscape business. I guess that's normal for you. And kind of got to talking, and a couple weeks later we come out to see this house, which had been dropped from 200 to 160, 165. We ended up getting it under contract for 120, and to get the great deal you had to get pretty creative with financing. Will you talk about that? That's not something many experienced investors do, let alone a first-timer. I thought it was pretty awesome the way you took this one down.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you helped me a lot with that. I definitely have no doubt that we would have not made the deal happen unless we found you.
Thanks.
I had been doing some personal real estate investing research for about 9 months before we tried to put this deal together. And the thing about this property, the condition it was in, it would not be approved for a normal mortgage because of the repairs needed. When we got here, the things like the air conditioning unit had been ripped out, so according to the mortgage lenders, it wasn't up to their standards for being approved. But I had an idea after talking with you that this would be a really good investment if we could get it at the right price. So we made an offer contingent upon being able to obtain financing, which was your idea, which basically just meant if you accept this offer, I have this much time to get financing for it.
Right.
After that, I reached out to family and friends to see if they could help. I did not have any luck there.
Not too unusual, first-time investor. Most people are thinking, hey, what's Dillon thinking? He's crazy, right?
Right. And I had all the numbers. I had, a lot of information, but for whatever reason, nobody was comfortable with that, which is fine. So somehow I made some calls and got in touch with what is called a hard money lender. And that is and it's basically what it is. It's a high interest 12-month investment loan where they cover so much of the appraised value. And I put money in an escrow account for all the repairs. Okay. It enabled us to make a really low cash offer to get into this property with quite a bit of initial equity, even in the condition it was in before we started doing any renovations. There was a lot of talk between us about the potential before we signed anything. And since then, we put that deal together really fast.
We did.
And since then, everybody that I've talked to has confirmed that this was an excellent investment, which we are really excited about. And it's been a lot of work, but we are really excited.
Awesome.
So we can't live here until we sell this house.
Because it's an investment loan, right?
So right now this property is in an LLC. I started to buy this property, which is actually really simple to do. So what we're going to do is, after it's livable and can be approved for a normal mortgage, we're going to turn around and buy it from my company.
Okay.
At the cost that we purchased it originally. So we're going to be in, probably something between $200,000 and $240,000 house. But we're going to be paying $120,000 house payments on. Right. And not only that, this property came with kind of a bonus. It's got a duplex on site that eventually we can subdivide and gain quite a bit of equity that way, or keep it all in one title, and that's going to pay our mortgage.
Okay, so I want to pause here for a second to highlight what Dillon is talking about. It's been popularized by BiggerPockets.com and their great podcast as house hacking. I did a video on it. We're going to link to that so you can check it out as well. But basically it's letting your neighbors pay part of your mortgage, either by buying something like a duplex or a triplex, or what he did where he bought a big nice piece of property but there's an additional duplex on it. So check out house hacking. Again, the video is going to be in the show notes.
Right, you can just rent out that little duplex that you've gotten mostly fixed up at this point. Boom, they're paying your mortgage. You've got the house. It also came with what they were using as a mother-in-law suite, but you're going to use as an office, right?
Right.
And then you've got a big slab and cupboard workshop area for all your tools. Pretty good place to run a landscape business out of, I'd say.
Yep. Yeah, I remember we were talking about this property. My fiance sent it to me on Facebook, and she said it was on almost 3 acres. There was fish in the pond, and I said, we got to go look at that. And we got here, and it was just not in good condition, but we both saw the potential.
Right.
And it, my attitude with my business and in a lot of areas of my life is we just got to go for it. We just got to try this. And I've had so many people, when we started this, just think we were crazy, right?
Right.
But now
everybody does until they see it come around the finished product.
But now everybody that comes over here is just like, this is amazing. This is so great what you guys are doing. Like, you're gonna love this. And we are. I mean, we come over here on the weekends. We're just so excited about it.
Yeah, I see the Facebook post with your family around the pond and you know, hanging out on this pretty piece of land.
Yeah, I mean, all the math made sense. It was a very logical decision, and you helped me out a lot with that. School districts are great. The biggest hurdle was just finding a way to make it happen. Right? But I just kept going, and it's going to pay off huge.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that was, to me, that was kind of the most impressive thing that you did during the buying process. Most people, you get to a hurdle, or you hit something that's not going how you thought it was, and most people are like, okay, this isn't going to work. But we kept coming to those things, and we talk about a plan. I think it was very black and white. Here's our challenges. Here's what needs to happen, and you'd find a way to clear the hurdle. And that just happened over and over until we got closed on the property. And now I know from experience that renovating is much the same way, right? Yes. You just keep hitting hurdles.
Yes.
But what did you do, mentally or otherwise to just keep clearing those hurdles and make it happen, to not get caught by any one of those setbacks?
It's a great question. I couldn't honestly tell you. No. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and I had a lot of good contractors and a lot of good people like you that I could call up, and that's the best thing. People are resources.
Sure.
They turn into friends. And when I would hit a point where I didn't know what to do, I would do personal research. I would reach out to people, and I would get all these different ideas from different people, and finally get in touch with somebody who could help, whether it was on the financing side or the renovation side. And early on I was all in renovation, and I quickly realized, like I do with my work, I've got to take personal time to recharge. Right?
Absolutely.
It's a balance.
Yep.
We've got to balance all this stuff. And between running a business, working 60 or 70 hours a week, managing my employees, and then doing this on the side and having a family.
Right.
It's been a lot, and it's been a risk, right? But, as with starting a business or anything, if you take a risk, there's a huge reward.
Sure.
Right? So it's you just got to take one thing at a time. That's how we did the financing thing initially, and we figured it out.
One thing at a time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll figure it out. I mean, there's been ways to do everything we've needed to do. I just had to be consistent, be persistent, and not give up,
Yeah. So what was, you ended up with a house, a mother-in-law suite, a duplex, all on 3 acres of the pond, and one of the, in Pace, which is one of the more popular areas of town. And you did all of that at a 25% or better discount off of what they were asking. What was the biggest challenge, do you think, before you actually closed? What was the biggest challenge in the acquisition?
Probably the biggest challenge, I guess, during the process was getting approved through the hard money lender, and being comfortable with the risk we were taking, since this was our first investment.
You're pretty methodical. If you were going to take a risk, you wanted it to be very calculated,
right?
To know what the risk was and what the payoff was.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I did the math, and and
Yeah.
this being my first deal, I had very limited experience to go off of.
Sure.
But I've learned, if I trust my instincts and do the research, it usually works out pretty well.
Okay.
And so far, that's exactly what's happening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about the actual renovation? What's been the biggest challenge in, because you got all of the stuff, but you had 3 acres to maintain and clean up, and you had 3 structures to get fixed up. What's been the biggest challenge in the renovation?
Probably the order of operations.
Okay.
Because I have zero experience with any kind of interior work, right? And with the work that I do, which is landscape construction, we don't just mow lawns, we do a lot of types of construction. And
Some really big projects, right? Major planned out, serious work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do all the logistics, all the material acquisition, the planning, scheduling for that. And so I thought this would be an easy transition. Turns out it is not. And so there were definitely some. There's been some mistakes on my part, but at the same time, that's experience, right?
Yeah.
And I'm only going to make that mistake one time because it's going to cost me a little extra money.
Sure.
Now, there has been some repairs that we did not anticipate, but I kind of anticipated that. You know what I mean?
Did you put something in your budget, just like stuff I forgot is the line item I call?
Yeah. Well, the way that we set up, I hope I'm not getting too detailed here, but the way that this worked is I put so much money in an account, and as we do the repairs, it's an escrow account.
Right.
An inspector comes out, verifies that the repairs are completed, then that money is released to us. And so the biggest mistake I made by far, which isn't a huge mistake, but I put all of since I have no renovation experience, some of the things we're going to do last, like the flooring, I put a very large chunk of the budget in. And so that money is locked up.
Out, checks that off that it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, they were pretty flexible initially with that spreadsheet I submitted to them, but once it's signed, you cannot make changes. Okay.
Okay.
So, you should. If I was going to do this again, I would definitely kind of weigh some of the things you're going to do first with a little higher than you may need.
Put a little padding in there.
Right, because you're gonna have to pay some guys an extra couple of days of labor to fix this over here before you do this over there, and before any of this stuff. When you get into it, you're gonna have to do stuff that you just didn't know was there.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, and sometimes you go in and you say, okay, I'm gonna replace the paneling in this room with sheetrock, and the next thing you know, that 1970s or 1980s trim, in there, it just doesn't match anymore. It doesn't look up to par, and you're like, okay. It's not that I forgot this, it's just that I didn't plan on doing it. And now next to my brand new, nice, finished, properly painted sheetrock, this doesn't look good.
Right.
And you end up doing more. So I've run into that a lot too.
I think the other thing, and I've noticed this watching interviews online,
Mm-hmm.
is, I have employees that are competent with tools,
Right.
but initially I was going to do all this myself.
Mm-hmm.
And between life and a business and everything else,
Right.
the initial progress was very slow.
Mm-hmm.
What I would have, in hindsight, I would have brought in somebody and to give a couple bids. How much would it be? How fast can you get this all done? Because we're paying a high interest loan
Mm-hmm.
every month.
Time really is
Time,
money
exactly.
in that situation.
Exactly. And it's just nice to see progress. So,
Sure.
we've converted from us doing a lot of this work to paying somebody that's consistently here day after day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's hard, you get whiplash when you keep transitioning
Sure.
between maybe your job that you're doing every day
Right.
to coming home on Saturday and Sunday and trying to sheetrock and,
Yeah.
fix a bathroom.
When
right?
you kind of lose momentum
Exactly.
switching between the two as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. What's so what's been the most fun thing or like your favorite thing about the process? What are you enjoying about this project you've taken on?
Well, I have to tell you, we were over here yesterday because my fiance just started a job, so she only gets over here on the weekends now.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got here, this place, we saw the potential, but it was not somewhere we could have lived. And we have
Right.
an 18-month-old daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and she was running around the house and just loving it. She was looking at her room, looking at the pond through the window,
Yeah.
and she was just as thrilled as she could be. And that just made it all worth it, just like it's coming together.
Yeah.
Right? So that's really neat.
Yeah, the satisfaction of seeing it all come together, and then even better yesterday, seeing your family
Yeah.
really kind of feel at home there, start to feel at home there. So very cool. Well, any other advice for somebody maybe thinking about tackling a first-time project or just tackling a big, complicated project?
I just take it one step at a time, and I think hesitation out of fear of the unknown
Mm-hmm.
is a big mistake, that I've made before.
Right.
And that is, the biggest benefit to this project is the experience that I've gotten. Because after this one,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do more.
Right.
In my opinion, real estate investing is undoubtedly the way to go. Whether it's building wealth through flipping houses or rental properties,
Mm-hmm.
residual income, it's very appealing to me because I have control. I have more
Right.
control over it. I have, the buying and selling decisions as opposed to investing in something like the stock market,
Mhm.
where if Apple shuts down tomorrow, I
Right.
can't do anything about it. Right.
Fed changes interest rates, or
Right.
the president, whoever that might be, says something that people don't like. You just have no control, and it goes all over the place.
I saw a property in Gulf Breeze that was bought for $75,000 in 2000, and
Mhm.
now it is worth $285,000. You're not going to get a return on your investment like that,
Right.
right? Anywhere
Absolutely.
else. So, it is a risk. It is scary, especially for your first one.
Mhm.
But like I said, every hurdle that we've had, there's people like you that have been more than willing to help me. And there's plenty of other resources. So, it's whatever you want to make out of it, really.
Yeah. So it sounds like do your homework, but don't be afraid to go out there and actually do a
Absolutely.
project.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you're doing a great job so far. I'm really impressed. Glad we got to check in this morning. I look forward to coming back and seeing it when it's totally finished.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you.
So thanks for watching my interview with Dillon. We're going to be bringing you more content like this. If you have questions about real estate, whether it's investing, buying, or selling, be sure and reach out to me. Also, if you want to tell your story or if you want to hear about a specific part of real estate, whether that be investing or something else, let me know what you want to hear and we'll make sure and get out some videos surrounded about that. So I'm Matt Jones, Keller Williams. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.